I see the EA NHL 16 game plays. God, how do I turn it on? I have to sign in, refresh it. Okay. How do I how do I refresh it, Wayne? F5, okay? Five. Five. Hmm. Okay, F5. It's not. No. Uh, I think it's MSN Bing. I guess so. It says YouTube. Um, Best of YouTube. Music, sports, gaming down the left side. Browse channels. Oh, yeah. And the home buttons. Okay. The website next to the end. Okay. It says be good as life. Whatever I just did. I probably shouldn't have pressed that button. Um, yeah, whatever I just had. I got. How do I go back? God. Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see that. Okay, so I just went back. Now, the Hockey Nuts. God. Oh, the Hockey Nuts live stream. It says live now. I want to hit that. Okay. Yeah. It's like I'm on a delay. Okay, I see you. Do you see me there? Yep. Yep. That's what I see. But I'm still on a delay. I'm talking to you, and it's not coming on the screen when I say it. Now, how do I mute that? Yep. Okay. There. Okay, that's muted. But my video has stopped. Wait a minute. Let me. Now, whatever you did, it's coming back up. There's. Okay. Oh, I probably should get another bottle of water too, but I'll. Three people are watching us, huh? Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I see where it says that three watching now. Yeah. I'm still frozen, by the way, in my screen, but okay. Still, yeah, still frozen, but that's a okay. Yes, I see it now. Good. Gosh. Now, how many downloads on this new episode, Wayne? God, six just took it away. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Hmm. That's really wild. And it said 24. You meant 24 countries, 24 different countries around the world? Isn't that something? That's great. Okay. Okay. I'm ready to go. Oh, I got some juicy headlines from yesterday. Marty San Luis jersey is going to be retired in a ceremony on January the 13th. He will be the first Tampa Bay Lightning player to have his jersey retired. He is the Lightning's all-time leader in points, assists, um, game-winning goals. There was a couple other categories, but they weren't as. And his 365 goals are second to Vinny Lecavalier's 383, who leads the team. And then second today, the Pittsburgh Penguins made the annual visit to the White House with Barack Obama. So two big stories today. Yeah, yeah. Connor McDavid is the new captain of the Edmonton Oilers. Yep. Right. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm ready to go, Wayne. Whenever you will. You mean for as far as players, our teams? Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I took a I went on the Rangers website and I've got some information as far as new players. And you're talking about Boston and New York, right? Good. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm doing good. Good to be with you, Wayne. Yeah, Wednesday night next week, the 12th, and I'm like counting down the seconds. We play Thursday night as well. Yeah, we open the season against the Islanders, and I believe it's at home at the Garden. Yeah. The only thing I can tell you is a gentleman who works with our company, but with a different branch of our company, so to speak. And he lives in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. He was evacuated today, so he was in our warehouse. He said the governor they've evacuated 1 million people, if I heard it correctly. Yeah, that's right. Yep, that's right. That's right. Second that. Yeah. I just wanted to echo what you said, Wayne. We're very grateful and thankful for the folks that are downloading our show from all over, not just the United States, and it really is a humbling thing. Um, Gosh, before we had set up this podcast, I had no experience doing this type of thing, and here we are, 9 episodes later, and it's just a incredible thing to see and behold people downloading our show and listening to it. All the work that we put in, and Wayne, I know you put in a tremendous amount of work on this show. I put in a lot of hours. We just scan everything, but it's fun for us to do. But it makes it worthwhile that it is actually being more successful than I had ever thought. I watched part of it that night, but I did not see the whole game. I can't remember the point at which I cut it off. I think I saw Europe score the first goal, and I believe that was it. I saw Europe was up 1-0. Um, I have to be up at the crack of dawn Friday morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I'm only, yeah, right. Yes. Right. Or- Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I didn't see that. The last time I watched the World Juniors one time, Finland won, and they took a glancing shot of the press box, and Teemu Solani was up there, and man, he was going nuts with the whole Finland, all these Finland players. I think Yari Curry may have been up in there, and they oh, I mean, the partying was ready to start, you know.
Yeah.
But I didn't see the end of the game there, so I take your word for it. I mean, it's a raucous environment if you win.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that was that was pretty much it for the World Cup. Um, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to it, but Canada takes it away, and very quickly everybody got back to their NHL teams, and we moved on to the preseason.
Yes.
So, what I'll go ahead and do is why don't we go ahead and take a minute and we'll go ahead and run down all the scores that have happened since the last recording of the last podcast, which would have been the 29th through today, which is the 6th of October. Um, so, we'll go ahead and run down all those scores, and then we'll come back and talk about basically what happened over the past week. All right.
Good.
All right. So I'll insert that in there. All right. I'm going to scroll down to where my stats are.
Okay.
All right. So that was the scores for the past week. Now, why don't we go ahead and talk about some of the individual performances that have happened over the past week? I'm actually looking at some of the stats that came out. And we'll go ahead and start with the Bruins. One thing that jumps out at me is Danton Heinen is having a huge preseason. He's played, at least the stats that I'm looking at, that he's played 3 games so far, and he has 3 goals in 3
Yeah,
games.
he really is playing well.
And he's a +5.
Yes.
So not only is he doing well offensively, but defensively. And the Bruins are, they're only playing roughly 500 hockey in the preseason, so it's not like they're winning every game. But David Pastrnak has also got 3 points in only 1 game. David Backes got 3 assists in his only game so far. Ryan Spooner has a couple of points. Austin Zarnik also has a couple of points.
Yeah,
So,
Austin Zarnik's been playing very well, Wayne. I've been impressed with his play.
yep. So my guess is if Heinen and Zarnik, 2 youngsters, if they're going to make the team, I mean, they're looking really good. And there's a couple of spots that are available for them. So I would not be surprised if both those guys end up making the team. They haven't been cut yet, at least not that we've seen. So,
Right.
so let's go ahead and talk about some of the Rangers.
Well, I have been real impressed with, as I said, with Mika Zibanejad. He hasn't played every game. They've let him sit a couple games, but he has definitely been the straw that stirs the drink for the Rangers in the games that I watched. And Brandon Peary has really exerted himself as well. I've been impressed with both of those guys. And Brandon Peary actually has 6 points. Is that right? Am I 4 goals and 2 assists? That's right, 6 points as we speak. And I'm not sure if that includes the game with the Islanders on Wednesday night that they lost. I'm not sure if he scored in that game or not. But he's playing very well. And I read on the website where it's a very good chance that they're going to have several players make the team that are, the youth. I heard that Brady Shea will probably make the team. Pavel Buchnevich is going to make the team. So that's really good. Their young guys are going to get some openings this year, which that doesn't happen very often with the Rangers, at least in the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
They're becoming quite a young team now.
Yep. Well, that's good. I think that's the way it is in the NHL these days.
Right.
Teams, you got to have that good mix of veteran and youth. So
You're right. That's exactly right, Wayne.
So,
Yeah.
one guy that's really jumped out at me, and I'm sure he's not going to end up on the top line, or at least I don't think he is. Brandon Peary, he's having a monster preseason.
He really is. He is. He's excellent at distributing the puck. I've also, I've seen his shot. He really has a very, very good shot, and so I think his hands are very quick. And I haven't studied him real close, but I've been very impressed with that line. That line, though, that they have Zibanejad, Buchnevich, and Chris Kreider is
Yep.
really taken off. And I hope Vigneault keeps that going, man. He's a master at picking lines. He does a great job at it.
Well, good. Yeah, and what about John Gilmore, defenseman? He's on the score sheet pretty high up. He's got 2 goals in just two games played.
If I'm not mistaken, they sent him down to Hartford.
Did they? Okay.
Yesterday, the Rangers cut their roster to 29 players, and I don't believe John Gilmore made it.
Okay. Well,
not sure why. I think he had a great one game. He had a very good game.
Yeah, that, and obviously you can't just, if you judge a team simply by what you see on the score sheet, that would, that's only a tiny part of their overall play. So,
right.
If he's not doing well defensively, they're going to send him down and have him work on that.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about our local Hurricanes. One thing I've noticed with this team, although they are winning games, they're not. I think they're roughly 500, 2-2, somewhere in that neighborhood. 2-2-1, I think, was the last time I saw the standings. They're just not scoring a lot, and that's concerning to me.
Yeah.
It was one of their big questions coming into this season, whether or not they'll be able to score enough goals. And right now, their leading scorer at this point is Jeff Skinner with 2 points. Of course, he's only played 2 games. Carolina right now, and I think every team does this, is they're spreading around all the games. No one player has played every preseason game, and I don't think you find that anywhere in the NHL.
Right.
A player that has played every preseason game. So Jeff Skinner's only played a couple of games, has a couple of points. But that's it. I mean, 2 points is enough to lead the team with Carolina.
Yeah. He scored the game-winning goal last night in Sault Ste. Marie, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that game, so so that would be an addition to the 2 points that I have on my stat sheet.
Yeah, SR Center in Sault Ste. Marie.
Yep.
Which my mother is from Sault Ste. Marie, so I've been to the Sioux many times actually.
Oh, okay.
Over the years, so. That was I was really surprised the Hurricanes got a game up there with the Sabres.
Yeah, well, they played the Sabres in the Hockeyville game in Marquette, Michigan.
Right.
So,
watched that game.
Yeah, I did watch that game, and it was I love the camera angle of that game.
Yeah,
the camera that was basically right over the, 15 feet above the ice, probably 2 rows back if you were, in an NHL rink. And I wish they could put a camera there for every NHL game. It actually reminded me a lot of, just being in the local rinks that when you go watch high school games or college games in your local town rink, it's about the camera angle you have or the view you have if you go to one of those small rinks.
Yeah, that is really something, Wayne.
Yeah, I wish they would would be able. Problem is, putting a camera in that spot in an NHL rink would knock out quite a few seats and kill the view for quite a few very high value seats
Yes, it
in
would.
those NHL rinks.
Yes.
But so it was an interesting game to watch them playing in such a small arena.
Mm.
And I like watching those Hockeyville, and I like that they're doing that Hockeyville stuff because it gives these small towns a chance to see NHL players playing at their local rink.
Yes.
So, well, cool. So let's go ahead and move on now that we've discussed the actual games. Let's go ahead and move on to some of the headlines that have happened over the past week. And I know you have a bit of a list of stuff that has happened over the past 24 hours because we were originally going to be recording last night, and I had my show notes prepared for that, but for whatever reason we weren't able to record last night. We're recording tonight. And anything that's happened over the past 24 hours, I was at work all day. I didn't get a chance to get that stuff. So you have a list of that.
I have a list of what's gone on today, the major stories, and I hope I didn't miss anything. But the first one I had was Marty St. Louis. His number 26 jersey will be retired by the Tampa Bay Lightning in a ceremony, special ceremony during a game on January the 13th. He will be the first player in Lightning history to have his jersey retired. And, of course, he is the team leader, the all-time leader in points, assists, game-winning goals, power play goals. And his 365 goals are second to Vinny Lecavalier's 383. So he owns a lot of the records at this present time for Tampa Bay. And I was really glad to, of course, I really love Marty St. Louis. His time with New York was too short, and he really was a great player.
Yep. Yeah, he was. And, of course, with my roots in Vermont, and he went to the University of Vermont, and is actually a guy in my fantasy hockey league that knows Marty personally.
Wow.
They went to school together. They lived in the same dorm when they were at UVM. So, he knows Marty personally. And I believe they still communicate today. So, because he drafts Marty every year in the fantasy hockey draft. So now that he's not playing anymore, he's not drafting him. But every year when he was playing, this guy would draft. He'd draft him 2 or 3 rounds earlier than he would go just to make sure that he got him. So
yeah, those guys from the old guard of the Tampa Bay Lightning team that won in 2004. There's not too many of them left playing in the league.
Nope.
You have Lecavalier retired. Now St. Louis, Dan Boyle retired yesterday, and that was another article.
Yep.
He did retire yesterday from the NHL. He played in 1,093 games and won the Stanley Cup in 2004 with Tampa Bay. But most of the guys from that team, Brad Richards, Dan Boyle, of course, Marty St. Louis.
Yep.
You can go right down the line. A lot of those guys are retiring or not playing. Vinny Lecavalier, those guys no longer play in the NHL. So
well, that's 12 years ago. So
yep.
So a lot of those guys are no longer in the league.
That's right.
Cool.
Let's see. The second major item I had, Wayne, was the Pittsburgh Penguins were welcomed at the White House today by Barack Obama. And he used the occasion to give a special shout-out to Phil Kessel.
Oh, really?
Yes, Phil Kessel was on the president's mind today. He said, "We have a great announcement to make." And he said, Phil Kessel has become a Stanley Cup champion. And apparently that was met with a wild round of applause and, cheers from all whatever room of the White House they had that ceremony in. So apparently Phil Kessel was thought of pretty highly by the president.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder what brought that up.
I'm not sure. I think maybe he gets a I think
he's not from Chicago, is he?
Not to my knowledge. No.
I thought he's from Minnesota originally.
Yeah,
I know he went. I know he went to the U, but
He is an American. I know that.
yeah, he is American because there was
Uh,
all that hubbub about him being snubbed for the USA team. I
and
know he's American.
that may be a big part of it, right there, Wayne. That may be a big part of why. President Barack Obama, he keeps up with hockey.
Well, I know
And
he's a huge sports guy,
yeah,
and especially basketball.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
I didn't. He's born in Madison, Wisconsin, is what
Madison,
I'm.
Wisconsin. That's right.
That's his birthplace. So, and I know he went to the University of Minnesota before
Yeah,
he turned pro. Um,
but he
I wonder what
he
his connection with the president that he went out of his way to mention that.
I don't know, other than maybe like we said, he did not get picked to be on Team USA, and that may have been a way that the president chose to bring him into the fold, I guess, and give him a shout out for his
Yep.
his play in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He also commended Mike Sullivan, who I did not know before his time with the Rangers. He actually worked in the Blackhawks organization. So
Oh,
Barack
did he?
Obama,
Okay.
yeah, Barack Obama knew that, and he brought that up during the discussion.
Because I know he's a former Bruins head coach too, Mike Sullivan.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, and that may have been after the Bruins and before the Rangers.
Okay.
But anyways, it was an interesting article to read. It's in today's NHL.com.
I'll have to look that up.
I had two others
Okay.
from today. Connor McDavid was picked as the new captain of the Edmonton Oilers.
I did see that. Yep. He's the youngest captain ever, right?
The second youngest player in NHL history at 19.
Okay.
And I don't know who the first is.
It might be Gretzky.
It could be. It could be Wayne.
Yeah.
And
I could be wrong, but that would be my best guess.
I think they did the right thing. I think Connor McDavid is so far ahead of his age in terms of his skill, his will.
Yep.
He's just players like him are very, very rare indeed. And one of the reasons why you and I picked Edmonton to make the playoffs, he's doing that well.
Yeah.
So.
And he was very impressive in the World Cup in the 3 games that we got to see him play. And I've watched some bits and pieces of the Oilers highlights and games, and he's been impressive. I mean, for the Oilers, he's been dominant there in the preseason. So, and a lot of people that are, all the upper reporters, particularly the more popular ones, are talking about him possibly winning the Art Ross this year. Although I don't see that happening, but
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people projecting 80, 90 points for him if he stays healthy.
Yep. Wouldn't be surprised with that number of points. We'll talk more about the Art Ross later in the podcast tonight.
Yep.
But I did want to mention one other thing. Apparently, and I don't know when this article came out, but the Las Vegas franchise, the up-and-coming franchise that starts next year, broke ground on a new practice facility that the general manager, George McPhee, says is a state-of-the-art, best-in-the-business complex. It's going to run them $24 million. And somewhere in the city of Las Vegas, they broke ground on it.
Wow.
You and I are in a rare maybe situation in that both of our teams, the Bruins, it's absolutely beautiful what you shared with us a couple weeks ago, and I've since went on Nesson and looked at everything. What a beautiful practice facility! But the Rangers have a beautiful one as well in Tarrytown, New York, and that facility also houses the Liberty basketball team,
Okay.
and some other pro teams. I think the Riveters, the women's team, may actually play there, but yours is strictly the Bruins, and it's devoted strictly to them. But the Rangers facility is state of the art as well.
Wow. Yeah. I'm still impressed with the one that Boston just built.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And
beautiful.
these nicer rinks, in a way, part of the NHL is kind of like college hockey, where it's a recruiting game. If you want to convince NHL free agents to come to your team, I mean, not only you got to have an opportunity for them, promise, that they'll play first line minutes or second line minutes or whatever. You can't underestimate the value of a really nice practice facility where they can be comfortable. They have all the amenities available to them to help them become a better player. You can't underestimate that, and to have a nice view out the windows.
Yes, absolutely. You're 100% right. It makes a big difference versus teams, again, that have the aging buildings where they conduct their practices, and you go there, and then you go to a place like Boston. What are
Yep.
you going to think?
Right.
It's night and day.
Right. All right. Well, I just saw another story that just came out. Mark Howe and Pat Kelly to receive the Lester Patrick Trophy. The Hall of Fame defenseman and the ECHL co-founder to be honored November 30th in Philadelphia. So the Lester Patrick, I'm having trouble saying it, Lester Patrick Trophy is one of the most prestigious in hockey. It was presented to the National Hockey League by the New York Rangers in 1966. It honors the memory of Lester Patrick, who spent 50 years in hockey as a player, coach, and GM, and was a pioneer in the sport's development. So, yeah.
Great news there.
So it's an award that's giving recognition for their decades of devotion to hockey in the United States.
Who is the co-founder of the ECHL? Is that Mark Howe?
Pat Kelly.
Oh, Pat Kelly. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Mark Howe is known more for his playing career.
Okay.
That's Gordy's son, defenseman.
Yes.
Yep. So, and of course, the article goes on talking about, what each of those guys did going forward. And I think the championship trophy might be named after him. I think it's known as the Kelly Cup, isn't it?
Oh, you got me there. I'll have to take your word on it. No.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see a picture of it right here. It's the Patrick Kelly Cup. So the championship trophy of the ECHL is named after this guy too. So yeah, he did quite a bit. Okay. I don't see anything else.
Yeah, and my scan down there, I think that's covered them.
There's a lot of fluff in there. Season previews. I haven't seen the season preview for the Bruins yet.
And there hasn't been one for the Rangers either.
There hasn't? No.
No, sir.
I did see a Carolina one.
Yes, there was one for Carolina. That's correct.
Yep. October 5th, Phil Kessel. Panthers Lightning. Oh, they did postpone a preseason game as a result of the hurricane. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Tuesday the 4th. I've got a list of headlines in front of me. First of all, over the weekend, lots and lots of transactions occurred throughout the league as teams are getting ready for the AHL training camps, which actually opened up this past Monday. So all 30 teams between essentially Saturday and Monday into Tuesday most teams released 10 to 15 players, dropping them down to AHL training camps. And, of course, the Rangers and the Bruins were no different. So you're starting to see the teams being pared down already. And then, of course, some of these players that got released also went back to their junior teams up in Canada, because some of them can't play in the AHL until they are no longer eligible to play in the CHL.
Right.
So we're not going to go through a whole list of all those players that got down. We're talking hundreds of players at this point. So if you want to see which players got dropped down for your team, go on to NHL.com. You'll find plenty of information regarding to that. So
And Wayne, from experience, the Rangers are down to 29. I can speak directly about them. There'll be one more cut, and then they'll come up with the final. There might be two or three guys battling for, a slot or two on the roster.
Well,
That's
the opening day roster, I believe, is 23 for every team.
that's correct. Yep. So the Rangers are down to they got 6 cuts to make, and they will, I believe, make one cut, and then make a second cut. At least that's how it's gone in previous years.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the Canes and Bruins are in that sense, but I'm sure they're right around that number as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting down to it. So the last couple preseason games that occurred this week, you're going to see NHL teams are going to be the teams they put on the ice this week will resemble very closely what you'll probably see on opening night.
Right.
All right. So as far as other headlines, Barrett Jackman retired this past week as a member of the St. Louis Blues. He played 12 of his 13 seasons in St. Louis. He's 35 years old, was accompanied by his 6-year-old son, Caden, 4-year-old daughter when he made the announcement. His daughter's name's McKenna. And he actually retired by signing a one-day contract with the Blues, so it allows him to officially retire as a member of the Blues.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a really good defenseman for a long, long time. I know that.
Yes, he was. That was actually at the top of my list for the 24th, or the 4th.
Yep.
So
all right. So Tobias Ryder signed a 2-year contract with the Coyotes. He was a restricted free agent forward, and it was a 2-year contract worth a reported $2.25 million per year for the 2 years. He had 14 goals, 37 points in 82 games last season. And as far as him not being at training camp, shouldn't be too much of an issue. He played 6 games for Team Europe in the World Cup. So he should be almost ready to go.
Yes. And he, if you follow the Coyotes at all, and I have for the last few years, I'm one of those guys, if I can watch a late night game, I will, and usually my wife and I would pick Arizona. He's a central part in that Coyote team, so it's no surprise that they're keeping him on the team, and congratulations to him.
Yeah, and I think Phoenix is going to be like Edmonton. Phoenix is going to be a fun team to watch this year. I'll probably start paying attention a little bit more to them now.
I agree with you 100%. That's going to be the team in the West, along with Edmonton, that's going to really make a move, I believe.
Yep. Okay, Central Scouting revealed preliminary players to watch for next season's draft. There was an article on the NHL.com. They mentioned Nolan Patrick as one of the leading candidates to be in the first overall pick for next year. There was 29 players on the list that earned an A rating. All the players on the list earned either A, B, or C ratings. So a player that had A ratings is expected to be a first-round pick. Players with B ratings are considered to be second or third-round picks. And then C ratings were essentially players that are expected to be drafted but will end up in the 4th, 5th, or 6th round. I included a link to the entire list of players if you're interested in the show notes. You can go to the link to see all the players that are there in case you might know of any. But these are the list of players that scouts will probably be watching, so we'll probably have to keep an eye on them as well.
Yes.
As we get to already talking about next year's draft.
and the expansion draft.
Yeah,
a lot to be going on next year.
Well, these players most won't be. Well, actually, Las Vegas will have a pick in next year's draft, so they'll be.
Yes.
I think they said they'll be the equivalent of the third worst team. So they'll have a chance to win the lottery. If they don't win the lottery, they'll pick like third or fourth in every round.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yep. All right, so NHL Network is launching a new live studio show to go with. They already have their, what is it? I don't know. The new studio show is going to feature E.J. Redick, Steve Mears, and Michelle McMahon is going to host this show weekdays starting at 4 p.m. Eastern. With the 2016-17 season set to begin in 8 days. Well, this was a few days ago. It's actually less than that now. NHL Network announced Tuesday that it will expand its live weekday studio program with a new show called NHL Now at 4 p.m. Eastern. Heradic, Mears, and Michelle McMahon are going to be hosting the show. It'll originate from 2 different NHL Network studios and make its debut on opening night of the season, October 12th. With fans gearing up for the night's action, NHL Now will have a fast-paced format that will include arena cam interviews from morning skates around the league, commentary from analysts and correspondents throughout the game, and interviews with players and team personnel. McMahon, who recently served as Fox Sports Carolina's pregame, and she actually appeared between periods a lot too, host of the Hurricanes Live and a ringside reporter, has joined NHL Network and will serve as co-host with Radick and Mears. And then it lists a whole bunch of other players or former players that are joining NHL Network as well to be occasional contributors to these shows. So now you got the NHL Tonight, which is a nightly program. They've got what they call the Rink, which is a 6 p.m. start, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you're going to see straight programming from 4 o'clock on every night.
Yes.
With the NHL Network. Now, Michelle McMahon, you know her, but if you watch any Carolina Hurricanes games, so she tweeted out the day this was announced. She tweeted out to all the Canes fans, thanking us for all their support and wishing the Carolina Hurricanes good luck. So
yes, I was glad to see that.
So that story had a little bit of a local flair for us, anyway. Okay, Kerry Bubbles has been hired as NHL or as Las Vegas's team president. Bill Foley, the owner of the Vegas franchise, said, "I'm excited to join the new Las Vegas NHL team to be," or actually no, he said this. Okay. Bubbles said, "I'm excited to join the new Las Vegas NHL team to be part of building a franchise from the start and to work with Bill Foley and George McPhee to create a successful and unforgettable franchise," he told their website. He spent the last 13 years working with the Cleveland Cavaliers of the NBA and the Quicken Loans Arena organization. He served as president of business operations since 2013 and also was president alternate governor for all teams owned by the Cavaliers operating company. So Kerry Bubbles is definitely a business guy. He's not a hockey guy.
Right.
So he's been brought on to basically run the business of the Las Vegas franchise.
Right. He strikes me as a person that knows about arena seating capacity, getting fans into the seats.
Yep.
Probably that type of a guy.
Yeah, he'll leave the hockey, the on ice product, to the hockey operations guy, and you see this a lot with teams. Is they've got a business guy, and then they've got a hockey operations guy, and they each have their own responsibilities. So
right.
So Las Vegas continues to make headlines. Seems like every week they're talking about that team.
Yeah.
All right.
Good,
Christian Ehrhoff impressed the Bruins so much at the World Cup, they decided to give him a tryout contract. Claude Julien, who is one of the assistant coaches for Team Canada and the Bruins head coach, coached against Ehrhoff and Team Europe in the World Cup final. The 34-year-old defenseman, playing without an NHL contract in the tournament, had 3 assists in 6 games before signing the tryout contract with the Bruins on Friday.
Yeah,
he's originally from Germany. He's played 12 seasons, so he's definitely a veteran. He actually has a lot of playoff experience because he played all those years with Vancouver.
Hmm.
He had 2 goals and 10 assists last year in 48 games for the Kings and Blackhawks. Averaged 15 minutes, 29 seconds of ice time, which is actually his fewest minutes since his rookie season back in 03-04.
Right.
And of course, he's remembered most by Bruins fans as being on the Vancouver Canucks the year the Bruins beat them in the 2011 Stanley Cup.
Right.
So
That's right.
interesting to see if he's still playing, so he hasn't been cut yet.
Yeah. That's great.
All
Hope he
right.
makes.
Yeah, well, I think the Bruins need a guy like him. Their defenseman is lacking, so
Mm.
um, they'll see if he plays his way onto the lineup. Nicholas Halmerson got suspended through the season opener, so he's basically suspended for the rest of the preseason plus 1 game in the regular season. And he got suspended for hitting St. Louis Blues forward Ty Ratty
Yep.
during an NHL preseason game on Saturday the 1st. I actually watched the video that was released by the Department of Player Safety, and yeah, I think he deserved the hit.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, they gave him the suspension. I don't think it's going to hurt the Blackhawks at all.
No, I mean it's 1 game,
Yeah.
and the reason he got suspended was because the check was delivered primarily to his head, and the way he hit him, he kind of went. It was called a charge, a match penalty for a charge, but the way he hit him, he basically launched himself into him, almost on a kind of a blind side. But his shoulder was going up as he hit him. Instead of hitting him in the body, he hit him directly in the head.
In the head.
And you saw Ty Ratty kind of looked like he got knocked out for a moment or two there.
Yes.
So the 1 game suspension will cost Halmerson $22,777.
Yes.
So that money goes into the Players Emergency Assistance Fund. So that was it for headlines in the 3rd. Going back to the 1st, there wasn't much going on in the 2nd, so we'll go back
That's right.
to the 1st. Peter Laviolette signed a extension with the Predators, which will keep him the coach, unless he gets fired, of course, with Nashville through the 2020-21 season. So he signed a 2-year contract extension to remain, David Poyle announced. Laviolette, 51, is 88, 52, and 24 in 2 seasons with the Predators. And they were in the playoffs both years after missing the playoffs in 2 straight seasons prior to his arrival. I don't think you're going to count all that to him. I mean, yeah, he's a good coach, but they had a lot of developing players too.
They sure do. He came in and has presided over the Predators when they have flourished.
Yep.
And it was Barry Trotz who got them there.
Yep. But of course, he's got a Stanley Cup under his belt. He won one in 2006 with the Canes. So
not taking anything away from him.
Yep.
He could win the Stanley Cup again this year. He's a great coach.
He's a great coach. He's got a lot of experience. Lifetime, he's 477, 30, 334, and 87 in 923 games. So he's got 102 games of playoff experience. Again, he won the Stanley Cup with the Hurricanes. And he actually went to the Cup final another time and lost to the Blackhawks in 6 games when he was the Flyers head coach back in 2010.
Right.
He's made the playoffs 8 times as a coach. And he's actually Nashville's 2nd ever coach.
Yes.
So Barry Trotz was the coach for Nashville for a long, long time. He was their original coach.
That's right.
All right, going back to the 30th, Penguins announced that they were to visit the White House. That actually took place today, and they announced it back on the 30th that they were going. I guess I can just skip that story.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas Stars forward Matthias Janmark will miss at least 5 to 6 months and possibly the entire NHL season with a joint disorder in his knee. Boy, Dallas is having some major trouble this year with
Yeah,
injuries, aren't they?
they are. That one they didn't need.
Yeah, Janmark has been diagnosed with this is hard to say, osteochondritis
Boy,
dissecans.
I clap for you on that one.
And he had surgery on Friday, General Manager Jim Nils said. I won't even attempt to say it again. That disorder is a joint disorder where bone underneath the cartilage of a joint dies due to lack of blood flow. Bone and cartilage can crack and break loose, resulting in pain, interfering with joint motion. It's a genetic disorder, and chances of a full recovery are 80%, he said, who cautioned the surgery would reveal a lot more about Janmark's long-term prognosis. So he's going to be out a while. So unfortunately, it seems like it's something that he couldn't help, something he was born with.
Yeah.
So that's another blow to the forward crew at Dallas, because they've been struggling with Tyler Seguin, although they're saying he'll be back game one, but he's struggled so far this preseason with some injuries, and Jamie Benn has also had some trouble. Yep. So, but those two guys should be back at the beginning of the season. So, and then
That's what I'm hearing.
And then of course they lost. They had one of their forwards head to the KHL. Nishushkin, yep. He didn't stick around, so Dallas.
He's playing Avant-Garde Omsk. Man, I feel good knowing this KHL.
Yeah.
Oh.
So they're hoping for a return in April for Janmark. So, but I've got a feeling they'll probably end up just sitting him down for the whole year.
Yeah.
All right, back to the 29th. Former player Billy D., Ryan Helmer, and Rob Murray and executive Doug Yingst will be inducted to the American League Hockey Hall of Fame at an award ceremony in Allentown, PA on January 30th, 2017. D., a forward, spent 11 of his 19 seasons in professional hockey playing in the AHL. He owns the NHL record for playing in 548 straight games for the Buffalo Bisons from 1958 through 1966.
Wow. The Buffalo Bisons.
So he also has 397 career games in the NHL with the Rangers, Red Wings, and Blackhawks. Of course, yeah, back in those days, it would only be 6 teams to play for, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. He said,
67 wasn't Buffalo. I don't know if they were one of the 6 teams that came on the expansion year of 67 or a year or two right after that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, if it wasn't 67, it was right after that. It might have been with, yeah. And then, of course, Helmer set career records for AHL defensemen in assists and points during his 20 years with Albany, Worcester, Manitoba, Springfield, Grand Rapids, San Antonio, Hershey, and Oklahoma City. He made 7 trips to the conference finals, won 3 Calder Cup championships. He also has 146 games of NHL experience with the Coyotes, Blues, Canucks, and Capitals. Now, the third guy, Murray, played 15 seasons in the AHL and ranks 3rd in league history with 2,940 penalty minutes in 1,018 games. Boy, that's almost 3 minutes a game. His face must look terrible.
He's straight out of Slapshot, Wayne. He's one of the Hanson brothers.
If you're averaging 3 penalty minutes a game, you're getting in a fight every other game. And then a minor somewhere in there too. Yeah. He served as captain in Moncton, Springfield, Hamilton, and Philadelphia. Murray also played in 107 NHL games with the Capitals, Jets, and Coyotes. Yinks spent 34 years as an executive with the Hershey Bears. He was hired as director of sales and promotion in 1982. He won the AHL Ken McKenzie Award for outstanding promotion in 87-88 when Hershey won the Calder Cup. He was promoted to assistant GM in '88 and added the role of director of hockey operations in '90. He won 4 Calder Cup titles and 8 trips to the finals, tied for the most by anyone in AHL history. And Hershey Bears, I want to add to that long history of success in the AHL, even today.
Wouldn't you say the most successful team in the AHL history?
Probably. I wouldn't. I don't know exactly how many teams have won. The Calder Cup, but I know the Hershey Bears win it quite often, and they've actually won it recently. They weren't the winner last year, but I think the 2 previous seasons they won. I could be wrong, but
I agree.
So I wanted to add that in there for you American Hockey League fans. Now, there's one other story we didn't touch on last week that I do want to touch on this week. Walter Bush, a founder of the Minnesota North Stars and a key figure in USA Hockey, died last week. He was 86. Bush was inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2000. He was a native of Minneapolis and was inducted to the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame in 1980. The IIHF Hall of Fame in 2009. He won the Lester Patrick Trophy in 1973 for his contributions to the sport in the United States. He played a large role in the addition of women's hockey to the Olympics in 1998. So he was a huge figure in USA Hockey. In fact, when I first started playing as a kid, he was the president of what is now known USA Hockey. Back then, it was we referred to it as A-House, Amateur Hockey Association of the United States. It was A-House, and he was the president back then when I was a kid. So, and he was instrumental, of course, in putting together the the 1980 Olympic team.
Yes.
The Miracle on Ice team.
Yes, I just remember, and I really miss, I'm an old fogey, I guess, on this, but I really miss the Minnesota North Stars. That was his team. And, Dino Ciccarelli, the whole 9 yards. They were a great team to watch. And, man, they had the fans, too, and great unis. Man, they had great uniforms. That's what I remember about Walter Bush.
Yep.
And he of course, moved the team to Dallas. I mean, I think he sold the team, actually, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, Wayne.
Okay.
But he was responsible and oversaw the movement of the team from Minnesota to Dallas. I think that'd be more accurate.
Yep. So, we did want to touch on that. We didn't want that one overlooked. Okay. Well, that's it for pretty much scores, headlines, news going around the league. So why don't we go on to our next segment, which is now the last 4 weeks we gave you team previews for each team in the NHL. This week we want to go ahead and put down officially, draw our line in the sand, so to speak, on who we think is going to win basically everything this year.
Yep.
So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start with picking. We'll review our 16 teams that are going to make the playoffs, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
All right. So, do you want to go ahead and start? You want me to start? How do you want to do it?
I'll be glad to go first.
All
and get mine out of the way. In the playoffs in the East, out of the Metropolitan Division, I have Pittsburgh winning, Washington finishing second, the New York Rangers finishing third, and the Philadelphia Flyers finishing fourth. And in the Atlantic Division, I have the Tampa Bay Lightning finishing first, the Florida Panthers finishing second, the Montreal Canadiens finishing third, and the Detroit Red Wings finishing fourth. The playoff teams out of the West, in the Central, I have Nashville, the Predators, winning the division, Dallas finishing second, Chicago finishing third, and St. Louis finishing fourth. And then in the Pacific Division, I have San Jose winning the title, the Los Angeles Kings finishing second, the Anaheim Ducks finishing third, and the Edmonton Oilers finishing fourth.
All right. All right.
You want me to keep going?
Nope.
Okay.
We'll pause. I'll go down through my playoffs. Now, I don't have what I picked in previous episodes in front of me. So I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm just going to go ahead and pick what I think right now is going to happen. Because, obviously these things change from day to day. It's fluid, but I'll set it in stone right now what I think is going to happen. I've got Washington running away again with the East. Or the Metropolitan, with Pittsburgh finishing second right now. And I've got Philadelphia third, Rangers fourth. Okay. In the Atlantic, I've got Florida. Actually, I've got Tampa Bay first, Florida second. I've got Detroit. I'm sorry. Let me start again. I've got Tampa Bay first, Montreal second. I almost forgot about Montreal. Florida third. Boston fourth. I gotta pick the Bruins.
There you go.
Gotta pick the Bruins.
I think they will. They stand a good chance of making the playoffs. As I told you, I think it's going to be a dogfight between Detroit, Boston, and one other team. It's Buffalo.
And I see Detroit missing the playoffs for the first time in 25 years.
You may very well be right, Wayne.
I'm calling that now. All right, let's move to the Western Conference. In the Central Division, I've got Dallas winning the division despite our injury issues. I've got Dallas first. I've got St. Louis. I've got Nashville second, Chicago third, St. Louis fourth in the Western. And I've got Minnesota in fifth, and they're going to make the playoffs.
Okay, so you got 5 teams coming out of the Central.
Out of the Central, yep. Out of the Pacific, I've got Anaheim, San Jose, and Edmonton.
Wow.
And I think LA is going to miss the playoffs.
Wow.
Just a hunch of some of the stuff I'm hearing coming out of LA lately. I think they're going to struggle this year.
Very interesting.
So let me pause and write that down real quick.
Go ahead.
Before we move on, so I can know what I'm talking about. All right,
okay.
So I've got Dallas, Nashville.
Have you got the East? You got the East, right?
Yeah, I'll get back up there to the East. Chicago third.
St. Louis fourth.
St. Louis fourth.
Minnesota
fifth. And out west, I've got Anaheim, San Jose, and Edmonton. I'm going out on a limb there. We can't just go chalk, we gotta be bold at some point.
Well, you were bold there, I must say.
So Washington, Pittsburgh,
Philadelphia,
Philly, and then Rangers.
Right.
All right. And then out of the Atlantic, I've got Florida second, Tampa Bay first, Boston. No, Montreal.
Montreal and then Boston, right?
Montreal and then Boston. Okay. All right. So what we'll go ahead and do, and next we'll go ahead and talk about what we think is going to happen in the first round. So now we obviously need to seed our teams.
Right.
1 through 8.
Right.
And we'll try to follow the format that the NHL is using, keeping so for example, in my case where I've got 5 teams coming out of the Central, I've got to drop Minnesota down into the Pacific bracket.
Right.
As the 4 seed in Minnesota, or in the in the Pacific. Rather than try to do wild cards and you got teams crossing over from one to the other, we'll just assume that the fourth place team in each division, if you've got 4 coming out of each division, has the 4th seed in that bracket.
Okay.
All right? We'll just make things easier on everybody. So I'll go ahead and start with mine, then you can pick it up from there.
Okay.
So in the Central Division bracket, I've got Dallas with the 1st seed playing St. Louis as the number 4, and I've got Dallas winning that series. Let's see, Dallas. And then in the other matchup in that bracket, Nashville versus Chicago, I'm going to pick Nashville knocking off Chicago in the first round.
Wow.
Again. That'll be a hell of a series if that happens in the first round.
Oh, that will be.
Yeah. And now in the Pacific bracket, I've got Anaheim with the 1 seed playing Minnesota as the number 4. And I've got Anaheim running through that one. And I've got San Jose beating Edmonton. San Jose beating Edmonton in the other matchup in that bracket.
Yeah.
Now, Edmonton will make the playoffs, but they got to learn how to win in the playoffs. So, if they do make the playoffs, they'll be quickly ousted in my mind.
Yeah.
Now, moving over to the East, I've got Washington having to play the Rangers in the first round. And sorry, Steve, but I think Washington's going to run through the Rangers again.
Uh-oh.
In that one.
Okay.
Well, the Rangers had to play Pittsburgh last year in the first round. This year, I think they're going to end up having to play Washington. And then in the other matchup, we've got a Pittsburgh-Philly all-PA matchup, which is going to be an absolute war if they play each other. And Pittsburgh will win that one. Now over to the Atlantic, I've got Tampa Bay playing Boston in the first round, and I've got Tampa Bay winning that one fairly easily. And Montreal is going to knock off Florida on the back of Carey Price getting red hot.
Carey Price standing on his head.
Yep.
And Shea Weber zinging those wild, massive pucks he has on the power play right by the watching eyes of Roberto Luongo.
So to recap, I've got advancing into the second round. I've got Dallas, Nashville, Anaheim, San Jose in the West, Washington, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, Montreal in the East.
Very good. Well, let's see. I'll try the same type of thing.
All right.
In the playoffs in the East, I've got Pittsburgh in the first round playing the Philadelphia Flyers. And I as well picked Pittsburgh to win that. I had a 2-3 matchup with the Washington Capitals and the Rangers. But now, Wayne, I'll tell you, I'm really never concerned about the confidence of our team when we play the Washington Capitals. We have beat them more times than they beat us in recent years in the playoffs. And it's always a welcome sign when the Rangers play the Capitals. It's always a good series, but we seem to do very well against them. That's a team that I think we can beat. So I'm picking the Rangers to win in the first round of the playoffs and go to the second round.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That is bold.
Yep. In the Atlantic, I've got Tampa Bay playing first of all against Detroit, and I think Tampa Bay will win that. And then the 2-3 matchup is Florida against Montreal, and I as well believe that Montreal is going to win that and move into the second round.
Yep.
In the West, I've got Nashville playing in the first round against St. Louis. I don't think they'll have any trouble. I think Nashville is going to go to the second round this year, and I think they're going to do it in style.
Uh-huh.
The second series, Dallas and Chicago, I think Chicago is going to win that. I don't think Dallas is like the Washington of the East. They choke in the playoffs, and I mean maybe they'll pull through, but I think by the time the playoffs roll around, all cylinders are going to be clicking with the Blackhawks, and they'll be ready to take care of things.
Yeah,
In
I think if Chicago plays Dallas, I agree with you. Chicago will advance.
Yeah. In the Pacific, I've got San Jose and playing Edmonton in the first round, and I echo what you said completely. Edmonton has to learn how to win in the playoffs. It might be a good series, but I think San Jose is going to win.
Yep.
And then my 2-3 matchup is the Los Angeles Kings, which I can't believe you've got not even making the playoffs, but that may happen. Los Angeles against Anaheim, and I have the Anaheim Ducks winning that.
Yep. Cool. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to our conference finalists. I've got Dallas playing Nashville in the second round, and I think Nashville is actually going to advance this year. I think this is a team that's been put together that's finally going to learn how to win, and I think they're going to move on to the conference final. And in the other series, we're facing another Anaheim San Jose, and I think San Jose, now that they've figured out what it takes to get at least to the Cup final, they're going to continue to roll, and I think they're going to beat Anaheim.
Very interesting.
Yep. In the East, the first matchup I've got is Washington-Pittsburgh, and I think Washington is going to upset Pittsburgh, despite Pittsburgh having all this playoff experience. I think Washington has failed enough in the playoffs. They're finally going to learn how to beat some teams this year.
Wow.
And then in the other bracket, we've got Tampa Bay playing Montreal, and Tampa Bay is scary good. I really think they are, and I think they're going to knock off Montreal. Won't be easy because they got to beat Carey Price, but I think Tampa Bay is going to knock them off.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I tell you what, mine are different altogether. I've got Pittsburgh playing the Rangers, and I think Pittsburgh is going to win that series again. I think with Sidney Crosby and Malkin is going to have a bigger year than he did last year. Kessel, there are just so many weapons on that team. I just don't know that the Rangers may suffer from a couple years now of having to play them early on in the playoffs, first or second round. And, I'm going with my head and not my heart.
Yep.
Tampa Bay against Montreal. I believe Tampa Bay will win that series, although that series I could be wrong on. I would not be surprised at all if Carey Price is playing as well as he's capable of, and you and I have seen. I would not be surprised at all if Montreal wins that series. But I'm picking Tampa Bay because, as you said, they just have too many weapons. They're loaded, and they have a great goalie.
Yep.
So I'm picking a conference finals in the East of Pittsburgh versus Tampa Bay. In the West, the Nashville-Chicago series, I think Chicago's going to win. I really think Chicago is going to, again, once they get to the second round, they're going to play Nashville. I think it's going to be an all-out war. But I think Chicago is going to figure it out this time. And instead of what happened last year, I think they're going to turn the tables on Nashville and win. And then the other conference semifinal is San Jose against Anaheim. I picked the San Jose Sharks to win that, setting up a conference final of Chicago versus San Jose.
All right. So go ahead and take it the next round further.
Next round further, again, I'm picking Pittsburgh to win in the East. I just think when it comes down to it, Pittsburgh has the veteran leadership. They have Sidney Crosby. I just see them and with Kessel, they just complete a great picture, a great team. And with the coaching, too, of Mike Sullivan, Pittsburgh's going to move on. And Chicago versus San Jose, I think the San Jose Sharks are going to repeat a trip to the Stanley Cup. So I think it's going to be a repeat of last year's Stanley Cup. That's what I have.
Wow.
Yep.
That is bold because you don't see that happen very often.
No, you don't.
Yep. All right. So what I've got going to the conference, again, I've got Nashville playing San Jose in the conference final, and I agree with you. I think San Jose is ultimately going to go back to the conference final for one final time. I think this is it, though, for them. They've got some guys that are getting up there in age, and if it's not going to happen this year, I don't think it's going to happen for them, at least in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So I've got San Jose coming out of the West once again this year. But in the East, I don't have Pittsburgh, obviously. That had them eliminated in the second round. I've got Washington, Tampa Bay competing in the conference final. And this time around, I've got Tampa Bay breaking through to the conference final. They are going to knock off Washington. So, but that series is going to be a fun one to watch. There's a lot of speed, a lot of offensive talent on both teams, both Washington and Tampa Bay.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
And I think Tampa Bay will finally break through the conference final on that one. And I'll go ahead and take the next step, and we're down to our Stanley Cup final between San Jose and Tampa Bay. And I am going to go way out there and say that San Jose is going to get it done this year.
Wow.
And win the Stanley Cup.
Agree.
Do we?
I picked the San Jose Sharks to win the Stanley Cup this year.
Yep. Hockey News won't agree with us. They're picking Tampa Bay to win it all.
Are they really?
Yep.
I just think with Tampa Bay, there's so many moving parts. They got a talented team, but they just, I don't know. They could win the Stanley Cup. They are definitely one of the best 5 teams and one of the top teams to win the Stanley Cup.
Yep.
But it's so many intangibles come into play in this Stanley Cup playoffs that I just don't know.
Yep. Okay. Well, now that we've made our bold predictions for how the league is going to lay out this year, and we'll come back to it as we get closer to the playoffs to see how close we were, let's go ahead and move on to some of the individual awards.
Right.
And make our picks for some of the different. We're not going to do them all, but some of the major ones that are out there. Obviously, we'll start with the Hart Trophy. Who have you got winning the Hart Trophy this year?
Steven Stamkos.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. I've got Jamie Benn winning it.
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, that
out of Dallas.
Yeah. He very well could.
So, of course, that's based on regular season performance. So
that's right.
They don't consider playoffs for the Hart Trophy, although they probably should. But anyway, well, actually, going back to the playoffs. Speaking of playoffs, who do you think is going to win the Conn Smythe?
Conn Smythe, I got Joe Pavelski.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Could be Joe Thornton, but I picked Pavelski because he's a goal scorer. In fact, one of the second or he's got the second or the third most goals in the NHL in the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. He's way up there. So
I'm going with the easy choice. I'm picking Martin Jones.
Oh, okay. Well, if they get that far, he could very well be the guy that gets them there. So that doesn't surprise me. Yep.
All right. So speaking of goalies, let's move on to the Vezina Trophy.
Okay.
Who have you got winning that?
You're going to be I picked Henrik.
Oh, wow.
Why? Okay. Henrik Lundqvist has won at least 30 games in 10 of his 11 seasons with the Rangers. He has been nominated for the Vezina 6 times. He's won it once. He should have won it twice. He should have won it the year Bobrovsky won it. But he was robbed of the trophy that year. But I think he's going to have – I really believe Henrik is going to have another great year, and he's going to have 30-some-odd wins. And if the Rangers if he gets up to the upper 30s, 37, 38, 40 wins, it'll come down to him against another guy, probably maybe 2, but I just think with that many wins and based on his track record, it's gonna stick in the minds of sports writers. Marty Brodeur won it one year and he didn't have the best record.
Yep.
I'm not saying that Henrik is going to make the Hall of Fame yet, but if he's a finalist again, he may very well win it.
Yeah. Hey, He is one of the elite goalies in the league, so it's certainly a reasonable choice.
Yeah.
I've got Braden Holtby winning
Yeah.
it.
Winning it again.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
I think, it was a toss-up for me between him and Carey Price, but you know what? Carey Price plays for Montreal, and I hate Montreal, so I'm not going to go with Carey Price. I'm going to go with somebody else. So I've got Holtby. That's why I made that choice.
I completely understand that, Wayne. I understand that with my head and my heart.
Yeah. All right. Now, who do you have winning the Art Ross?
Steven Stamkos.
Interesting.
Yeah, I got Steven Stamkos. That's the most points, right?
Yep.
I've got Steven Stamkos winning that trophy.
Okay. I've got and I thought about that one. I've got Tyler Seguin winning it.
Oh, wow.
Because if Jamie Benn is going to win the Hart Trophy for the league's MVP, he can't do that without help.
Yeah.
And Seguin gets a lot of assists for, Jamie Benn scores a lot of goals, so and Seguin assists on a lot of them, and he's a good playmaker, and I think and of course he can score too. So I think Seguin will win the points championship this year.
Very, very interesting, Wayne.
Yep. And of course, that assumes he's healthy.
Yeah.
But of course, we're assuming everybody's healthy in these lists.
That's right.
All right. Now, as far as the Rocket Richard Trophy, which is the award for most goals, I'm going to change it up a little bit. You're not allowed to vote for Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah, I did not vote. I did not put down Alex Ovechkin
because it's pretty clear that he's probably the biggest. He's won that trophy several times now.
Yeah.
So you got to pick somebody other than him. So go ahead.
Yeah. Vladimir Tarasenko.
Yeah. I mean, he got 40 goals last year. So
yeah, and I see him. And remember, David Backes left St. Louis, so they're going to need offensive production from somebody who's going to step up, and Vladimir Tarasenko is going to do that. He's a great player. Maybe the best stick handler in the league. What do you think, Wayne?
Hey, he's definitely up there. I mean, now that Pavel Datsuk's gone from Detroit.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Somebody's got to be the Mr. Hands guy, and he's up there. So I've got Patrick Kane winning it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This year.
That's a good one. That's a very good one.
He had 46 last year. So, and he was neck and neck with Ovechkin all year long. I think if Ovechkin doesn't win it, which, is 50-50 shot, he probably will. I think Kane will be right up there with him.
Wow.
All right. How about Calder Trophy? This one's a little interesting. This would be your Rookie of the Year, essentially.
Yep. I bet you I have the same one you do.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Patrick Laine.
Nope. I got Austin Matthews.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I think it's going to come down between – and, again, we're talking about something that depends on injuries. Remember last year Connor McDavid got hurt. Otherwise, I think he would have won the Calder Trophy.
He probably would have won it. Yep.
But, yeah, I picked Laine. I think Laine's I don't know. I just think he's going to flourish.
Yep. Agreed. But yeah, I've got Matthews. So we've gone 1-2 in terms of draft order anyway, going for the Calder.
Yeah.
All right. Now this will be an interesting.
The Rocket Richard again.
I picked Patrick Kane.
Patrick Kane. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Now let's talk Norris Trophy.
One of my favorite trophies.
Yep. Best defenseman.
Yep. Duncan Keith.
Okay. Has he won it before?
Twice.
He has. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't kept up the last several years who's won it, because once Chara stopped winning it, I kind of lost track of who won it after that.
Yeah. If Erik Karlsson if he is not the best defenseman in the league, Erik Karlsson is. I really think those are the two best defensemen playing in the NHL today. And a case could be made for either one of them.
Erik Karlsson, in my mind, is the best offensive defenseman in the league, without a doubt.
I agree with you.
But there's always that knock on him that sometimes he sacrifices defensive play to go on the offense, which
Right.
for the team he plays for, he almost has no choice. There's limited options for him on that team in Ottawa. So
That's right.
you're going to be surprised by my choice.
No, I bet you I'm not. I bet I can pick who it is.
All right. Who do you think I'm going to pick?
Roman Yossi.
It's not Chara.
Roman Yossi.
No, same team. PK Subban.
You picking PK, huh?
I'm picking PK. Yep. I think he's going to have a huge year.
Wow.
They're going to let him do what he wants to do, and I think he's going to.
It wouldn't surprise me at all, Wayne. That's a great pick.
Yep. I think he's going to have a huge year. And it's not that I picked Subban because Weber plays for Montreal. I think Subban actually will outplay Weber offensively anyway, for sure.
Yeah.
But that's my bold prediction of the individual awards. All right. In terms of Jack Adams, which would be essentially your coach of the year.
Right. I picked Todd McClellan, Edmonton Oilers.
Not a bad choice.
Yep.
Not a bad choice. I actually had him as well.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because obviously we both picked Edmonton to make the playoffs for the first time in umpteen years, so that would automatically make him a good choice.
Right. Very, very good.
So, cool. Well, that's all the ones we're going to do at this point. There's a bunch of other ones out there, but they're all, they're all not as doesn't get the press that these big ones have. So
I agree. That was a lot of fun, Wayne.
That
I really
was.
enjoyed that.
So we'll have to revisit this at the end of the year to see how we did in our predictions.
Let's revisit it. I agree. Halfway through and then at the end.
So we'll have to make a note. Yep. Okay, so let's move on to our KHL Minute. Did you have a story you wanted to lead off with?
Sure, be glad to.
All right.
My KHL Minute occurred on October the 1st, 2016, when Metallurg Novokuznetsk played Metallurg Magnitogorsk, who, as you know, is the #1 team in the NHL. They've won the Gagarin Cup the last 2 years in a row.
Yep.
And they're poised to win it again this year.
They're off to a great start. Yeah.
Great team. But Magnitogorsk lost this game. Novokuznetsk won 5-4 in a shootout, and despite 3 goals from all-time goal scorer Sergei Mozyakin, Metallurg, who had a 4-1 lead in the game, was able to hold on and win the game, breaking an 8-game winning streak, and in the process ending Magnitogorsk's 5-game winning streak.
All right.
And that brought me up to this point, Wayne. And it's in regards, you and I talked about this, the parity in the KHL is much, much less than it is in the NHL.
Yeah.
I see it, and of course, granted, they got a team from Beijing starting out, and I think there's another team that doesn't play many games, but there's just not nearly the parity that exists in the NHL, where you have most of the teams can get up to the 70-80 point mark.
Yep.
You're not going to see that with this league.
Well, one thing that I noticed when I was in following this league for a little bit that we have, I've noticed that, and I've seen reports that the draft for this league is a little bit more, a bit of a, I don't know what you want to call it. It's kind of a, I don't know. It's not the kind of draft like the NHL teams are trying to pick the best players that they can possibly find, right?
Right.
The KHL, when they go through the draft, there's very much a geographic component to it.
Okay.
If you look at some of the different teams, like the Jokerit team out of Finland, for example.
Yep.
If you look at their team, they have a considerably more Finnish players playing on that team than the majority of the players on their team are Finnish.
Right.
And you see that in some of the other teams that are I believe there's a team playing out of the Czech Republic too. that
Yeah.
has vast majority of their team is Czechs.
Zagreb.
Yeah. So you see that the players playing for the different teams tend to be from the area that those teams are playing from as well. So,
Okay.
and I think that's why we're seeing a big range. So the teams that are based around the bigger cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg and those areas, those teams are going to be strong year in and year out because they're picking from
The cream of
a better pool of players. Whereas the teams further away or from other countries, they may or may not be able to compete because of the players that they have access to.
That's very interesting. Very good point.
So
Helsinki might have a good year, and then they might not have the same pool of players that someone from St. Petersburg or Moscow would
right.
definitely.
Right. So there's very much a geographic component to their draft, which makes it a little bit less, more of a formality more than anything
Mhm.
than an actual true draft.
Right.
Because you if they were doing that, you would see a more mix, kind of like what you see in the NHL, where 50% Canadian, 30% American, and then 20% European. It seems to be across the board on NHL teams.
Right.
So, well, my KHL minute was another game on October 1st. The Chinese team, you spoke of them earlier, the Hunlun Red, what do they call themselves?
The Red Star.
The Kunlun Red Star got their first ever KHL shutout.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Yep. And they're also talking about, and in that game, the first Chinese eligible player, meaning the first player that would be eligible to play for a Chinese national team, got his first point. Zach Yuen
Yes.
got his first point. He's actually Canadian trained, but he's a dual citizen, Canada and China. And he's playing for this Kunlun team under the Chinese flag, and he got an assist in that game to become the first Chinese eligible player to get a point in the KHL.
That's great. That's really great.
And
Very
let's
good.
see if there's any other notes in that game. And of course, it was a 1-0 game, so goalie Andrei Makarov got the shutout in that game.
Yeah, I see in the notes you put he was truly a great wall.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was copied verbatim right from the KHL website. Make no lies. It was a 1-0 shutout over Moscow Spartak. So
Very good.
So there's my minute. And I also wanted to note, too, that the SKA St. Petersburg and CSKA Moscow, which is the old Red Army team, are both off to really hot starts and are dominating the league right now. St. Petersburg is 11-1-4, and CSK Moscow is 13-2-2 to start the year. So both teams are expected to do well every year, and like we said, they have some geographical advantages that other teams don't have, and of course the CSKA Moscow, or also known as the old Red Army team, is kind of like the Montreal Canadiens of that league.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to play for them. So
Right.
All right, so
Very good.
let's move on to our new NCAA segment. I mentioned last week I wanted to talk a little bit of college hockey each week, and I'm definitely going to lead that discussion because I went to an NCAA Division I school, so and I've continued to follow college hockey since going to school there. I went to school at Maine, and so college hockey is near and dear to my heart, and most teams got underway last weekend. Most teams played exhibition games only, but I'm just noting that the college hockey season has begun, and almost every team in the country had a game, mostly against Division II, Division III, amateur junior teams, and Canadian colleges, all of which don't count in the Well, they use a pairwise ranking is what they call it in NCAA to determine which teams make it ultimately to the 16-team NCAA tournament that happens at the end of the year. So their pairwise ranking is the big, huge number that all the teams look at on where they are. And games against Division II, Division III, junior teams, and Canadian colleges don't count in those pairwise standings. Mm-hmm. So, and most teams this weekend had games. They were against those schools that aren't part of NCAA Division I. So, and my Maine Black Bears did have a game. They lost. Where's the score of that game? They lost 6-5 to St. Francis Xavier. It was a home game on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
So that was my NCAA minute. So if you're a college hockey fan, and the games this weekend are most teams that are playing games do play against other Division I schools. So you're going to start seeing games that count starting this coming weekend. And that would be the weekend, the 8th and the 9th. And college hockey, Steve, I don't know if you're aware, but most college hockey teams play Friday, Saturday night games. And during the week, they're in class, so they don't have generally they don't have games. You will see a few, weeknight games and a few Sunday games, but the vast majority of the college hockey season is played on Friday and Saturday nights.
Yes.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our picks of the week.
Yes, sir. I can start out with mine if you'd like.
Go ahead.
I'm shifting off of the sentimental stories this week to give it a little change, but you know that is liable to crop up again for a few weeks. That's just how I am. But I want to say that my pick of the week is collegehockeynews.com. I use them quite extensively to study up and bone up on the NCAA. I've followed the NCAA for the last 2 or 3 years now, and each year it seems I'm spending more and more time learning about the divisions and the teams. But College Hockey News is a great resource. If you don't know about college hockey, and if you do, of course, it's a great way to keep in touch. Scores, division races, teams, the rankings, as well as great articles that cover all aspects of NCAA Division I men's ice hockey and Division III as well.
Yep, that's a good site. I've used it many, many times. There's also another one that's actually a little bit older, and I think they're celebrating their 20th year this year, is uscollegehockeyonline.com. That's another good resource for college hockey news in the U.S. So I would love to see the college hockey game grow as much as college football, college basketball has here in the U.S. It's going to lag behind anyway because college football and basketball, the sports are more popular here in the U.S. than hockey is. But college hockey, I don't think gets the enough attention.
It's so true, Wayne, and it is very, very exciting. I want to make this point. I think when you get these 64 teams or whatever it is that go into the NCAA men's college basketball tournament, you're going to see you rarely see the upset in the first few rounds of a major team. Most of the time, they'll run right through to the Sweet 16. It happens just about every year.
Yep.
The Kentuckys, the Carolinas, Dukes, they perennially make it. But when you're playing in a low-scoring game like hockey is, anything can happen when you make it to the 16 teams that make it.
Don't I know it?
It happens every year. There's major upsets in the first round or two.
Yep.
It happens all the time. And tiny Union College in Schenectady, New York, won the national championship 3 years ago with Matt Bodie and those guys.
Yep.
And it can happen. A major upset can happen, and a team get to the Frozen Four that you don't think about, and all of a sudden in one game the goalie stands on his head and they win. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, and college hockey uses the same format that college basketball is, one and done. And
Yep.
in hockey, it's much more unpredictable than basketball is. I agree with you there. And as a University of Maine fan, I know firsthand that it can be good and bad. Like, for example, Maine's won two national titles. The first one was in '93. They dominated college hockey all year, went into the tournament with only one loss on the entire year, and they went to overtime twice in that tournament. And they could have bounced either way. They could have been knocked out, having only one loss all season.
Right.
And then in '99, they won the national championship again, and they weren't expected. They were expected to be good enough to make the tournament, but they weren't expected to be good enough to win the tournament. But
Right.
they got a hot goalie, Alfie Michaud, and he stood on his head for 4 games, and they went out and basically, surprised the world. And I mean, granted, in those days, Maine was a perennial powerhouse, so it wasn't a shock by any stretch.
Right.
But that season, they weren't expected to win. They were right around at 10, 11, 12 in the rankings all year long, and then came out of nowhere and won the thing. So, and that championship game too was an overtime game.
Yeah.
So, and that could have gone either way. And then there were times Maine's been in the national title game 3 other times, I believe. They've been in the national championship game 5 times, and were favored in a couple of them and lost. So, yeah, college hockey, once you getting to the tournament is most of the battle, and then anything can happen from there. And it's only 16 teams. There's 60 teams in Division I right now, and only 16 make it to the national tournament.
That's right. So most of the season, and they play 30-some games, it counts for something.
Yep.
You have to have a great year. You have to be doing good pairwise near the end of the season to have any chance of getting into the final 16 teams. And it's really they can kind of tell you who's going to make the tournament before it's ever really. I mean,
yeah. The way the coaches generally look at it, if you're not in the top 12 in the pairwise, you're probably not going to make the tournament, because they also have automatic bids. So there's 6 divisions, and the 6 division winners, the tournament winners, make it to the championship or make it to the NCAA. They get the automatic bids.
Right.
So every once in a while, or every year, there always seems to be 1 or 2 teams that come from the depths of the standings, win the conference tournament.
Northeastern last year.
Yeah,
Hockey East.
Right, because all these conference tournaments are all generally one and done as well. So essentially, the playoffs start at the start of the conference tournament, and a team can come out of nowhere like Northeastern and win the tournament, grab one of the automatic bids, which will knock one of the teams that are out or near the 13, 14, 15 in the pairwise. Those teams get knocked out because of this team that came out of nowhere to win the conference championship. So the coaches generally try to say, okay, well, if you're 12 or up in the pairwise, you're in pretty good shape to get an at-large bid.
Right.
But below 12, you're on the bubble and can be knocked out by one of these come out of nowhere teams. So it's exciting. It makes every game count.
It really does.
There's no nights that you can take off in college hockey.
That's right.
And of course, these guys aren't being paid, so they're playing for the love of the game.
That's exactly right, Wayne.
And for the eyeballs of scouts.
The passion of the fans, it is every bit as passionate as the NHL, if not more so in some cases. You take a look at the Bean Pot. That is about as passionate as you're going to get in hockey.
Yeah, and I can tell you the fans at Maine are I've been in games at the University of Maine in their home building at Alfond Arena. It's only 5,400 seats in that rink. But I've never experienced the loudness from a crowd that I've experienced in that rink. And part of it is the design of the rink, the roof structure. The roof is very, very low. The roof over the stands anyway is very, very low. And so the crowd noise essentially bounces off the roof. It's a wood roof, and that noise bounces off the roof and is almost directed onto the ice. And there's been nights there where it was so loud my ears were ringing when I went home that night.
That is great, Wayne.
And the only thing that's ever come close to that for me in terms of the amount of noise was the time I went to a playoff game, Boston Bruins against Carolina Hurricanes back in 2009. My ears were ringing that night when I went home because the Hurricanes won the game. So,
Yeah.
so the PNC Arena was very, very loud that night.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, love college hockey, love the atmosphere, and I would love to have the opportunity to take you up to Maine sometime and take you to a game to show you.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
To show you, I have kind of a bucket list thing where I would love at some point in my life to just get an RV, rent it, whatever, and just travel the country, just visiting as many rinks as we can over a course of a season.
Yeah,
that would be something I'd love to do.
Be a blast, man. Yeah. That'd be a blast. The problem for me is money, of course. But
of course, yeah, yeah.
But for a weekend or something to go up to Maine, it'd be so good. I'd really enjoy that.
Yeah. But hey, you see people doing Kickstarters all the time for stuff like that. Maybe we should do a Kickstarter where we raise money and we'll, in return for people funding our Kickstarter, we'll do a daily vlog for all the people that are that are following us around the country, going from rink to rink to rink. We can go visit all the NHL, AHL, college rinks. I think we can visit most of them in the course of a whole season.
Oh yeah.
Our wives would hate us because we'd be gone for 6 months, but
oh. Such is the life of a hockey fan.
I know, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, my pick of the week, moving on, is an article I came across, and it was very interesting. It was on the Hockey News website. Article written by Ken Campbell, one of the Hockey News writers. The article is titled "World Cup Selling Ice Water for $65."
Unbelievable.
Seriously. And I'll just read the first paragraph or so from the article, and then if you want to read the rest of it, it's pretty funny. You can go to the Hockey News. There's a link to the article in the show notes for the episode. You can go there and read the whole article for yourself. But here it goes. It says if you're looking for DNA from some of the best hockey players in the world, you might want to consider dropping a few bucks on a crystal puck. Nothing really says growing the game like charging $65 for a few drops of Zamboni water, does it? Just when you thought the folks are bringing us a world crash grab of hockey had run out of ways to make revenues, and he trademarked that term, world cash grab of hockey.
Yeah.
Had run out of ways to make revenues, they go and turn thawed ice shavings into gold. Now, to be fair, nobody's holding a gun to anybody's head here, and for your $65, you're getting a lot more than just the residue from the Team USA Czech Republic game. You're actually getting a crystal replica World Cup of hockey puck and a lovely box, both made in China, from the people at Fanatics Mounted Memories, Inc. The crystal puck has the water sealed inside of it, water picked up from the ice in an actual World Cup game, a process that is evidenced by an authentic numbered seal along with a picture of a bucket of ice and another of the process of the pucks being filled. A certificate of authenticity is signed by Don Moffat, Facilities Operations Supervisor for the NHL. He actually supervised the ice sheet there in Toronto during the tournament. This unique collectible contains authentic playing surface from the World Cup of Hockey 2016. The certificate beams. The playing surface was acquired by Fanatics directly from the NHL. This crystal puck is officially licensed by the NHL. So when your trusty correspondent ventured into the main gift shop at Air Canada Centre for the World Cash Grab of Hockey, he was informed that the water-filled crystal pucks were actually moving at a pretty good rate. And why wouldn't they? As one Twitter follower pointed out, the water in those pucks might have the DNA of some of the greatest hockey players on the planet in it. So you spend your $65, break the crystal puck open, and pour it into your son's Wheaties in the morning, and presto, instant millionaire NHL hockey player. Sounds like a pretty wise investment. And then, of course, the article goes on with a lot more tongue-in-cheek comments, but it was a pretty good article. And you can click on the link to it in the show notes.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, now that we've ended that on a pretty light note, let's go ahead and finish up. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I don't, Wayne, other than I am really this is the last weekend before the season starts, and I finally I'm getting my fix now every day because I know the NHL is imminent, and so I feel much better as a person. I'm much less irritable, and I'm really looking forward to it. I enjoy working with you very, very much each week, and
Yep.
putting these shows together. I know you do an awful lot of work, but it's a great pleasure to be with you. I really enjoy working with you.
And again, I'd like to remind too, everybody who's listening, we want you to give us feedback and tell us how we're doing, good or bad. We can take it. We got thick skin.
Yeah.
But if you want to contribute to the show as well, also I didn't mention at the beginning of the show, we're looking for the possibility of having some guest hosts as well to help us out. If there's a team or league that you're passionate about that we're not currently talking enough about, and you feel like you want to contribute in such a way, go ahead and shoot us an email, drop us a voicemail, and we can do some things behind the scenes and possibly get you added to the show, at least on a part-time basis anyway. We're looking to grow our audience. We're looking to grow our community of hockey fans, and we definitely want to hear from you if you're enjoying the show for sure. So with that, we'll go ahead and end it, and I will talk to you next week, Steve.
Look forward to talking with you and working with you again, Wayne.
All right.
Good night now.
You too. Okay.
Man.
All right, got some troubling news. I'm gonna have to do some recording of the first part of the podcast.
Uh-oh.
I noticed for the first 2 or 3 minutes my mic was not on.
Oh no.
So I got your side, but not mine. So
Okay.
I'll just go ahead behind the scenes and re-record what I said. So it'll sound a little bit different in the final podcast.
You can do that without a problem?
Oh yeah, I can re-edit that stuff.
That's really neat. I tell you what, I'm keeping all the notes on my podcast. I have everything. Because I write little notes during the show, websites you have, something I want to keep in touch with, and I keep all the notes, everything.
Good deal. Yeah, I've got them. I just keep them electronically.
I wish I could do that.
I've got them in that Dropbox folder.
I'm hopelessly old-fashioned.
We'll get you there.
Yeah.
We'll get you there. Yeah. I was joking about that trip around the country, man. I really would love to do that someday.
Oh man, it would be fun. It'd be a blast.
I would invite my wife to come along, but she won't.
No, my wife probably would if she could take the time off. I tell you, Wayne, she would. Yep. She'd love to see. The way the Big Ten is starting, it looks like there's a push to the Big Ten in college hockey.
Yeah, they're trying to. All those teams. They just recently had probably about 2 years ago now. All the conferences in college hockey got all jumbled up.
Yeah,
it used to be just. Well, when I was going to school at Maine, there were 4 conferences. And then sometime between then and now, they added the 2 more. Right. College Hockey America and the, I can't remember, the Atlantic Hockey, whatever. They added the second one. And then just about 2 years ago, the Big Ten decided that the schools in the Big Ten, the ones who are in the Big Ten, your Wisconsin, Minnesota, all those, decided they wanted to have their own hockey conference.
Yeah.
And be part of the Big Ten, which kind of screwed up a bunch of the conferences out there. And so that created, the CCHA, the old CCHA folded, and all the teams because there wasn't many teams left once you removed all the Big Ten schools.
Yeah.
they joined other conferences, and the conferences split, and there were just a bunch of movements all around. Notre Dame came east. They used to be in the West. They were part of the CCHA before they folded.
Yeah. And now they're going in the Big Ten.
And now they're moving back west and going to the Big Ten. Yeah, but they were in Hockey East for the past couple of years, and I'm actually okay with them leaving because they're a damn good team. So anything we can do to weaken the teams here in the East or Maine's competition, I'm okay with. So I'm not happy with the way the coaches poll went. I saw the Hockey East coaches poll, and they've got Maine finishing dead last in Hockey East this year. So, but they're the youngest team in the conference, so they've got half their team is going to be freshmen. So there's that unknown piece. Generally, hockey coaches, college hockey coaches, don't know ultimately how a freshman class is going to do until they've played half a season. So hopefully Maine will surprise a few teams.
Yeah, I looked casually online. I saw where Arizona State starts out their season against Notre Dame.
Oh,
and they got to play at the Compton Family Arena in South Bend.
Yeah, Arizona State doesn't have many home games. I think this is their first varsity year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that team tries to opt to go to a different college. I mean a different division.
Well, they're trying to get into a division. I think they're independent right now.
That's right.
Yeah, they tried to get into the same division that has the two Alaska schools, the WCHA. I think they tried to get into, and for right now they weren't able to get in. So. I think teams or conferences are waiting to see how they do before letting them in, because the conferences also compete with each other too. They want to, everybody wants to be in the strongest conference.
Right.
So it'll be fun to see. But yeah, Maine starts out this weekend. They have their first games. I don't have their schedule up at the moment, but I do know they play this weekend. So, all right,
Wayne.
So, okay, well, we're still streaming on on YouTube.
On YouTube.
So, for those of you that are watching the YouTube, wait, my camera's over here.
Yeah. That's goodbye to me too.
Yeah, goodbye to them, and that ends the YouTube stream.